There've been incidents, and there've been attempts to discredit the former presidential candidate who became the president, and also design campaigns against female candidates and other male candidates. We have seen all of that, but I cannot say that there was, when it came to the presidential election, that there was an impact on the electoral outcome. But in terms of what happened to some of these female candidates, can definitely say that such hate, such cultural judgment on women, and the doctored images contributed to the electoral outcome, and they obviously were not voted in. During the parliamentary elections, the previous parliamentary elections in 2020, um, there was a movement in Sri Lanka to push. A lot of women have been working hard to ensure that there is greater representation for women, and unlike just have fielding women candidates, there was a concerted effort to get trained, educated, professional women to run for office. And there were two such women from northern Sri Lanka. It's quite northern Sri Lanka is, it's Tamil dominant, and one such candidate was one of our human rights commissioners. So the online campaigns against them, the women, is so terrible, and the other candidate had doctored images being shared via platforms. And I think, again, we had this conversation with Facebook soon after that. Obviously, they didn't make it. Online hate really has a different impact on men and women, and it's so gendered, and people have to actually start thinking about it. That's the other thing. So it's really not a level playing field. And even when we push women to come forward, and they do want to actually finally, stand for public office, doctored images of women, nude images, that sort of thing happening. There's obviously an impact on family and the way conservative societies accept you. And I'm sure this is so in other countries. From what I know, it is so. And then obviously, this has a huge impact, and this actually discourages other women from taking that very bold step of wanting to, seek representation. So I've seen that, and it's also well documented here that women candidates had to deal with a different, online violence and abuse during pre-election time, and even the eve of the election. So clearly, it also makes that the sexist approach of the internet can also be a huge contributor. And so disinformation is also largely gendered, and it obviously plays out very differently. There were incidents of violence and the kind of conversations that were driven online. And Facebook has officially apologized. There is an official report where they acknowledge that the platform could not contain the kind of disinformation and the driving of hate. Besides the disinformation, I think it's really an issue of driving hate. At that time, there were close groups, and those who were openly and through messenger driving messages to show that there was and eventually there was a clash and 2 lives were lost. And that really showed how to many Sri Lankans, I think that incident was such a huge eye-opener, how online violence can actually, convert itself into offline physical violence, and there could be actual people getting killed. The non-election backdrop is important because years before elections, months before elections, you create narratives to drive a wedge between communities, targeting them based on their ethnicity or because of religion. So Sri Lanka had been, we've seen a 30-year long violent conflict, and it was linked to ethnicity. And now that's only our past. We seem to have created new conflicts with the Muslim community in Sri Lanka, and they did not exist before. And to drive this anti-Muslim narrative, which is also, I guess, we reflect the global disinformation and the driving of hate in that. And so we've seen people lose their lives, at least in this particular instance, but definitely getting assaulted, being, discriminated against, and being ill-treated and pushed to becoming on feeling like second-class citizens. So these things happen not just during an election phase, and way before that. So actually, you see the result during the elections, the marginalization, the lack of voice, the denial of presence, and the opportunity to, you know, enjoy their citizenship. But it doesn't happen just right then. It started happening in Sri Lanka many months ago. So narratives are created, maintained, and supported, because if you drive this majoritarian in terms of ethnicity and religion, the majoritarian narrative driving and the narrative creation and the maintenance of that contributes to an electoral outcome that is overwhelmingly positive towards them, and to, present themselves as the saviors of the majority Sinhala, ethnic race, and the Buddhists, who are also again the majority, to present that narrative that all of, there are no other people speaking Sinhala except those in Sri Lanka. So Buddhism is also like, losing ground.